No, on NPR. KQED.
I'll go on a computer on my computer. Figure out what kind of download this. I assume NPR is the same. How are we doing? Well, I do eventually. Yeah.
I should think that would just sew it all up for the whole world, and they would just go away by themselves between the legs and say,
Good evening, everyone. Apple says it's 6 o'clock, so it must be, right? Welcome to the Wednesday, February 17th, 2016 meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority. I am Julie Pierce, the chair for the next 5 minutes. So I will take the prerogative of telling you all welcome and thank you all for coming and invite you to join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. There are more seats up here toward the front. Don't be bashful. The next item on our agenda is public comment. This is a time in our meeting when you are invited to comment on any item that is not listed on tonight's authority agenda. I will also remind you that we have a transportation expenditure plan meeting immediately following this meeting, at which time it would be appropriate to speak to items on that agenda if you have comments you would like to make, unless you cannot stay for that meeting. So is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment on any item not listed on this evening's agenda? Seeing no one rush the podium, I will close the public comment period and we will go to the next item, which is the election of our chair for 2016. I would entertain nominations for chair.
I would nominate Dave Hudson for chair.
Second.
I have a nomination by Romick and a second by Tatson. Are there any further nominations? Hearing none, all in favor of Dave Hudson as our next chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? You get it, kid. Okay, the next item is the nomination for vice chair for 2016.
I would nominate Tom Butt.
I'm going to recognize Janet from West County, who nominated, yes, and the second I think I heard was over here somewhere, so.
It's got to be me.
Okay. Okay, so seconded by Taylor. Are there any further nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, all in favor of Tom Butt for vice chair for 2016, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you very much. So I will hand the gavel to Dave Hudson.
Yeah, I had a wonderful speech plan. You just heard it. It is great pleasure that I get to recognize someone that the chair for our last year, as you all know, but our longest standing member on CCTA, someone that, 40 years, no. We know we have somebody who's truly committed to the well-being of our community, of the CCTA community, and besides the good feelings, we're talking about somebody's the president of ABAG, the president of CalCog, chair of CCTA, 3, 4 times? They stopped counting. And what am I missing? ABAG? MTC, yeah, we put her on MTC too. And, it was very difficult to find out someone that does this much for the community, what we could give her that she doesn't already have. So we put our heads together and we figured that the two things that Julie needed were another plaque and another title. So it is our pleasure for CCTA to present you with this. Well, it might be a plaque, I'm not sure. And what comes with it that's not written on there, you can be the 4th vice president of the TEP Committee of the Whole. So please. I'll hold it.
I just don't want it falling off the table. See about that?
See, that didn't take long.
Oh, how nice.
Oh, I like that picture. Yeah.
Thank you all very much. That is really nice. Very, very nice. Keeps it simple.
The one thing I didn't tell you is Julie also had to clean up the mess the previous city council representative from ABAG left her, but that's another story.
I'm not sure that even makes sense, but okay.
Now, we have a long-standing thing with our little Dodger fan in the back, but
Well, he's still here.
yeah, I know. Okay.
Thank you all very much.
You want to give a
Very
20-minute speech? Or?
No.
Oh. Okay, let's get on to the real business then, is the committee assignments. Everyone pretty much said that they want to keep the same subcommittees. If that's fine with everybody, unless they're raising their hand to jump out and object to it, we'll put you all on the same assignment you've been on. If you're on PC, you're on PC. If you're on APC, you're on APC. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for
Mr.
January
Hudson, I'm sorry, can I make a comment? I didn't want to make it under the voting. You and I talked about this. Thank you. I want to congratulate Dave on being chair and Tom on being vice chair, and I want to thank Julie for all her work. I would like our board to consider for the rotation next year to include the county as one of the rotational chairs as we move forward next year when we will elevate Mr. Butt. I don't even know who's next in line, but I would like this body to consider putting in the county one of the county representatives as chair, or at that time vice chair. I've checked with Mr. Iwasaki. I've done a lot of talking with people about our history here. There's nothing that precludes the county. It's just sort of been a practice that the county hasn't been a chair. And I've talked with my colleagues, and we feel that we participate in this and that we would like to be considered next year at that time for the rotation into the chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to the approval of the minutes for
So moved.
Second.
January 20th. I have a motion, Pierce, second, Romick. All those in favor say aye. Any opposition, abstentions? On to the consent calendar. I'm sorry, did you?
We were just clarifying.
Oh, you got the first and the second, okay. Okay, the next item is the consent calendar, considered generally routine in nature, acted upon with a single action. Anyone in the audience have a card in to pull anything? Anyone on the authority wishing to pull anything?
Second.
Okay, we have motion Tatson, second Taylor. All those in favor say aye. Any opposition or abstentions? Let's move on to item 4, which is Hisham's 2016 State Transportation Improvement Program STIP update. You have the floor, Hisham Naimi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. I'm really sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but the news seems to be getting worse for the STIP. In January, the CTC adopted a negative STIP estimate of minus $754 million compared to the $46 million, the positive $46 million adopted in August of 2015. Just to give you a perspective, this compares to the $1.26 billion adopted fund estimate for the 2014, the prior STIP cycle, 2014 STIP. The reason for the negative estimate is basically the declining gas prices. That's one. And the second is the lack of fix from the legislatures. The CTC is hoping this action will put pressure on the legislature to react positively to the bills introduced by Assemblymember Frazier and Senator Jim Bell, or even the governor's proposed budget for fiscal year 15-16, the mid-year budget. All of them would help the STIP to varying degrees. With the negative STIP, that means the CTC must delete projects, and at this time, after discussion with MTC and the other CMEs, MTC proposed strategy that's currently at the staff level. The board, I don't think, took action on it yet. But their proposed strategy is not to propose any projects for deletions and just to wait and see what the other regions do, like Sacramento and LA and so on. And if the CTC starts picking projects from our region for deletion, MTC strategy is to offer up some projects to do that. And the list they have includes 2 projects in our county. The 2 projects are the 684 Phase 3, only the construction phase, which has about $9.6 million programmed in fiscal year 18, and the BART Station Modernization Project, which has $13 million in fiscal year 21. Both projects, if deleted, would be reprogrammed to fiscal year 22 in the next STIP cycle, assuming there will be funding in the next step. Just briefly, the 2 projects, the 684 project construction phase is currently unfunded. It's not fully funded, I'm sorry. As you may recall, we have about $35 million funding shortfall to do the project as scoped right now because of the poor condition of one bridge, the Grayson Creek Bridge, which needs to be replaced instead of being widened. Unless we phase the project further, we really could not move forward with construction anyways at this time. And if we delete it, we would have an opportunity to program more STIP funding to it if we choose to in the next STIP cycle. So, as you know, the CTC rules right now do not allow you to add funding, STIP funding, to a project that's already programmed in the STIP. So we were sort of stuck on this project. And that's really the silver lining in this crisis that we have right now. If we delete it, you will have more flexibility in the future to add more STIP funding to it in the future, in the next step, if you choose to. In regard to the second project, the BART Station Modernization Project, it's currently programmed in the last year of the STIP, which is fiscal year 21. By deleting it, we're basically just delaying it by a year to fiscal year 22, as we would basically program it off the top in the next STIP cycle. This $13 million for the project was originally programmed to eBART, but because the STIP wasn't available in time, BART actually helped us out and put that money on a different project in return for using other money for the eBART project. Again, the scope of this project is not yet fully defined. I mean, we don't really know if the stations are in Contra Costa or the other two counties in the Bay Area. So that's our proposal. If we are forced to delete projects, we are seeking your concurrence to offer up these two projects, and with the understanding that they will be reprogrammed and they will have top priority for funding from our next STIP cycle. With
Okay,
that,
go ahead. I'm sorry, you paused.
I stopped. Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Well, I read in here you talked about options, but let's start with any questions. Seeing no one comments, go ahead, Ms. Pierce.
As much as it pains me to have to admit it, this is a project, as you all know, is near and dear to my heart, and I've been working on trying to get this done for close to 20 years now. So this is a very painful deletion. However, as Hisham said, there is this silver lining that we can come back and ask for a much larger amount, which we were not eligible to augment at this point. So I think if we are asked, this is the one primarily that we volunteer up, only because it puts us in a better position when there is finally some money. And I have at least soft commitment from others in the region that they will support us on that request when the time comes.
Okay,
So I would move approval of the staff recommendation.
Okay, we have a motion, Pierce, second. Arnridge, you're hiding over there. Any further comments? I saw a couple people start to lean forward. I think this is a wait and see and be ready. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? We'll see you again in a couple of years when you ask for more money. Thank you.
It's going to be a standing update.
Standing update in April for more money. Okay, thank you, Hisham. All right, the next is the correspondence and communications. Any comments on the letters from the self-help counties dated February 3rd? Seeing no lights, we'll move on to associated committee reports. Anything on 6, 1, 2, 3, or 4? Anyone? No one adding. Chair comments and reports. Is that the old chair? I'm sorry, former chair. Oh, or the new chair. Just a report that some of you have read that what are we calling it? The new Metro MTC, ABAG, whatever we're going to be called down the road. We are not going to be moving into it March 31st. The latest thing I heard today is it looks like May. And it better be before July 1st or it's going to get real expensive for your air district. Commissioner comments and reports, activities, meetings, anything exciting? Executive staff comments, brief?
Brief?
No, go ahead.
I'll be brief.
No, don't be
I
brief.
only have a couple comments tonight, commissioners. Thank you, outgoing Chair Pierce. It was a great year. I really appreciate all the work. I know the team and I, we just love having you. So hopefully the new chair is just as great. My first comment is
Tough crowd, man.
my first comment is Alameda County Transportation Commission. I was asked to moderate a panel. Commissioner Pierce was on the panel afterwards that was moderated by Mayor Green, and it really focused our need to focus in on freight over the long term to make sure that we can move goods and services through the Bay Area. And so it was a great opportunity. It's in the board packet. The next issue I wanted to highlight was a couple of tech projects. We kicked off the ICM project for State Route 4. We competed for a grant. We were one of the 13 grantees in the nation to get an ICM grant for State Route 4. It used to be the 10th worst commute in the United States peak hour, and so we're going to try to use technology to help manage the traffic along that corridor. We had an executive steering committee for Interstate 80. That ICM Integrated Corridor Management Project is ready to go live. And so we want to make sure that when we turn the metering lights on and all the wayfinding signs and all that doesn't cause a lot of confusion. And so Ross Hisham and I spent some time talking about the commitments that were made to our communities along Interstate 80 and making sure we follow that MOU that was signed. And then when we deploy it, we've got Ivy Morrison is our PIO working with Lindsay Willis, who couldn't be here tonight because she's ill, but I know she's listening because she's texting me right now. And so I just wanted to say that those two great projects are getting ready to be turned on. And lastly, I was invited to participate on a panel called Efficiency, Innovation, and Partnerships in Delivering Transportation Improvement Projects. And so I talked a little bit about things that we're doing here to leverage money and create opportunities for us to deliver transportation improvement projects and programs. So that was in Sacramento. I'm allergic to going to Sacramento, but I went anyway, and it turned out okay. Chair Hudson was there in the crowd as well. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments about the report? We'll move on to 8.1 and 2, the same thing. If we don't have any comments or questions about that, we will adjourn. Our next meeting is Wednesday, March 16th at 6 p.m. and immediately following my last word, Chair Tatson will be starting up the Transportation Expenditure Plan.